Fabulous. We are live. Lovely to see you both. Thank you so much for joining me today. So as always, Caitlin has done all the hard work behind these and I rock up and ask the questions, so bear with me. I'm always going in a little bit blind to these, so it's lovely to see you both. First of all, the theme of this whole webinar is going to be around retention, and so we're going to be cutting through the confusion with some practical tips and some insights from both yourself, Rich, and yourself, Katie. So let's start with some introductions. So first of all, hi, I'm Rose. I'm the Events and Partnerships Manager at Quickfire Digital. If we start with yourself, Rich, and then you, Katie.
Yeah, I've also skipped past the part where I put what my title is in the little snippet below, so I'm just here as Rich Evans. But I'm the founder of Get Better. We are a CRM agency for e-commerce brands, specialise in Klaviyo, Yotpo, Octane AI.
Okay, so Katie from Pact. So joined Pact 3 years ago, where we had a very infant D2C offering, and 3 years we're going to be over 1 million. And so here today to explain sort of how we've done that through the retention.
Amazing. What do Pact do as a company?
So we are all frozen fruit and smoothies sold online and in retail.
Nice, amazing. If I was already feeling bad about the Dominoes I'm planning to have for lunch, I feel even worse about it now. Thank you so much, both of you, for joining me this morning. Let's crack on. So, looking at kind of the big picture here, retention is crucial in the world of e-commerce. It's also really tough to get it right. So, Rich, let's start with you, because you already seem very unprepared with not putting your job title or where you work underneath your name. That's like, I love the arrogance of, do you not know who I am? You just need my name. I love that for you. So in regards to retention, what are some of the biggest mistakes in your experience brands make when it comes to specifically email marketing?
It's not arrogance; it's incompetence, because I don't have a Caitlin that can just do these things for me and sign me in ready to go.
If it weren't for Caitlin, I wouldn't even be employed. Simple
Yeah,
as.
exactly. I have to do like jobs myself and things. So biggest mistakes we see, we do a lot of auditing, and I think the biggest common broad mistake is where brands are just trying to resell. So rather than being sympathetic to what a customer has already done with you, what they've told you, what they've told you their goals were, what they've bought, what they've viewed, it's just, right, you need to buy this again now at a date that we've decided is how often they're going to use it. So if you take Pact, for example, a bag of frozen cherries might last me a couple of months, but it might last somebody else 2 weeks, dependent on what they're using it for, what recipes, what smoothies and things. So I think the most common mistake is not really being in tune with those data points of why they told you they wanted the cherries in the first place if they completed a quiz, when they bought cherries previously and what the gap was between a purchase that might have happened before that, and just using the data that you've got available to you, I guess, is probably the most common mistake I see.
Excellent, thank you. Anyone else got a real hankering for frozen cherries? Yeah.
Do you know what? I have them in the freezer, and when I've got a craving for sweets or sugar, they're really good. Just eat them as a frozen cherry. And
That's interesting. Did you buy them from Pact?
of course,
Of course, of course.
yeah, we often test the flows of Pact using real-time purchases, which my accountant have told me is absolutely fine to pass through at a
Excellent.
expense.
I love that. We have that occasionally with clients where we do a test, like an order, and we get like some really random delivery. We once had a sofa turn up when we were doing some testing for a furniture company. An entire sofa turned up to the office, and we were like, we're going to have to.
I mean, yeah, my desk is just like a constant flow. I've got mushroom supplements here from Rain. I've got a Beehive kit from. I haven't got any frozen
client
produce.
drop. Nice.
Yeah, I haven't got any produce because obviously it would be defrosting.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I love that for you. I do think it's something that salespeople need to keep in mind when they're selling. Like, let's talk to everyone and see what you're all really interested in, because you're all going to be buying all their products. We need more. I'm loving all the free pet food we're getting it from Fourth Grade at the moment. It's been wonderful. Cool. Katie, so moving on to yourself. So let's talk about some big challenges you faced in terms of keeping customers engaged. Obviously, Rich not being one of those challenges. He's clearly found a loophole to eating bags of sweets with frozen cherries, but other customers.
So the thing for us was when we started out, I think we threw loads of money at getting people to the site, and we got, huge traffic numbers. And then there was this sort of very blunt tool kind of user journey. So, our conversion rate was pretty low. And then when we did convert them, our way of talking to them was very basic, maybe an email to say thank you, and then a follow-up to say, did you know we did X, Y, Z? And I think what we sort of unlocked was that really our post-purchase experience was actually really off-putting. So I actually reached out on LinkedIn and I was like, does anybody know somebody that can help in this area? And I think we had 2 or 3 people mention Rich at Get Better. And I think since then, which would be June 23, we've really seen an acceleration of both retention and onboarding of customers through retention, through different metrics that we've used with Rich. So I think the challenge really is not getting people to site. It's like once they're there, keeping them, and the different tools that you can use to do that.
Sorry, I put myself on mute during that because I'm in a noisy kitchen. That's really interesting, and it'd be good to explore more about, the impact that having Rich on side has had with PAX, so we can unpack that. I've been wanting to say that for the whole webinar, but I chose to do it 7 minutes in. So
Nailed it.
Yeah, it's out there now. I'll see what else I can do with it. Cool. Thank you, both of you. So I've got some questions for both of you. So email marketing strategies that drive retention, because we've got Rich, who is email marketing whiz. We might as well use him while we've got him. So starting with a clean email list, how does that impact engagement and retention? So clean being, I'm assuming when that's put down, people who are still working for the company, correct email addresses, right sort of people. Is that kind of what it means from non-marketing rows?
I mean, clean list its stock has risen. Clean list strategy in the last sort of few months because Klaviyo, which we use, and I've got my Klaviyo partners hat on for this part, did give everybody a little bit of an ultimatum that it was going to change its pricing policy. And so whereas brands that had been historically on Klaviyo for a while had been paying based on the amount of sends that they did, it was now forcing it based on the active subscribers. So suddenly brands that had maybe been a bit lax or a bit hesitant to suppressing data had a big carrot dangled to incentive, was probably the word I was looking for, and I went with carrot. Big incentive to clean their lists up so that they reduce their fees. So that's something that a lot of people have done recently. We've always tried to maintain clean lists with Pact because it just shines a brighter light on the actual engagement of emails. So if you are sending your emails to the same 1,000, 5,000, 6,000 people that have shown no willingness to engage with your emails for the last 3, 4, 5 months or even ever, it's gonna put a bit of a blur on your statistics and your KPIs because you don't actually know what's happening, where your core audience is. So we've always been pretty brutal with cleaning lists and things. We offer single opt-in for most of our sign-up methods and things outside of competitions. So that does mean that people can get into the lists with dummy emails or spam emails or mistypes. So again, it's pretty crucial to keep that clean. And it benefits retention because it just means that when you take actions based on A/B tests and previous sends, and you've got the clarity of the results because you haven't got a whole lot of unengaged or even don't exist people in that send, the results are much more accurate. So then the actions that we take from those A/B tests are real, genuine, authentic results. So it makes the emails that we send from there much better.
Fantastic, thank you. And some useful stuff in there is that I had no idea about the ultimatum and the carrot. Well, probably should have been a cherry being dangled by Klaviyo as well. That's really handy to know. Katie, do you have any thoughts on that in terms of your own experience with cleaning up your lists?
Yeah, I do. And I think one of the things that we've done, and I think really trying to bucket the emails that we send as well now. So in terms of cleaning up the list, then going even further, and then within that list, how can we segment even further to personalize the experience? And I think where Get Better have really helped us with that is understanding what content speaks to which group of people. So, even though you clean it up and you've got these optimum lists who are engaged, you can still see that there's segments within that segment. And so I think that constant iteration of what good looks like for different people is, where a partner really comes in helpful.
I think as well, another specific Pact example is when we met Katie in Pact, there'd been, a good proven strategy for list growth, especially in the early days of a brand, is competitions and collaborations and things. But the quality of the list that competitions can mine is often sort of diluted by competition hunters and people that have no real interest in the brand but are keen to win something. So I think focusing on those lists and being even more brutal and sort of saying, right, we're gonna give these people X amount of chances, and then they're out, because we want to sort of drive real engagement. And so yeah, strategy with competitions and stuff, I'd say, is really important when it comes to lists, because if you sort of gain 10,000 email addresses from a competition and then just drop them into your send all list, they are going to potentially dilute things, and you might be scrabbling to try and find why your click rate's down, or changing things up, when actually it's just because you've infiltrated your list with some really poor data. So
I was very impressed with our huge list, Rich, and you as soon as I got it, you were like, how have you got all this? And I was like, well, our amazing competitions.
It might be, but that's better when we meet a brand with a big list and we're like, so where did you get this data? And it's like, it's best you don't ask. So,
Awesome. Thank you, both of you. And actually, the next question is interesting, and I want to kind of add to it because it's on a question off script. Because one of the things, I don't know if you guys are finding as well, and Rich, I know this is going to be a bit of a pain point to mention, but I am so overwhelmed with the amount of emails I get every day from companies trying to sell me stuff. And it's stuff I don't ever remember signing up for. And even if I did sign up for it, I'm like getting emails, it feels like all the time. But there are some companies that I will always open their emails. And before this call, I was actually thinking, what are some examples of those? And I'd be really interested to hear. And they don't need to be a client. I wouldn't recommend a competitor. But if you've got a brand or a company where those, what you think they do right that keeps you going. For me, it's a company called Wicked Uncle. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's a it's so good. I mean, Rich, you've got like 13 children, so I don't know if it would be relevant to you, but basically, like, I've got no children and I have loads of nieces and nephews, and I hate buying for them because I don't know what they want. And it's you put in like their age, a little bit of what they like, blah, blah, blah. And it comes up with gift ideas, and they will wrap it for you, write the card for you, and send it to you directly to the kid. And their emails are not only, their gifts are amazing, but also they put at the end a section which is a load of dad jokes for the week. And I just open it to read the dad jokes, to be honest. But I do also order quite a lot of them. So that's mine. Rich, do you have a brand that kind of does it for you, who, if they were with Get Better, then obviously it would be amazing, but no worries, they're not.
I mean, firstly, I have 3 children.
That's
before there's
basically
any
13.
sort of outrageous sort of
a lot of children. Yeah.
I opening and reading emails and stuff is a little bit of a busman's holiday for me. I do like to sort of try and try and not look at emails sometimes. I think there is one that stands out though, amongst the noise, which is Try It. So they are a brand. Well, they're not a brand as such, but they are a company that brands sort of utilize to put products in front of potential customers for feedback and MPD and things like that. So when they email, it's always quite personalized to me, because I've been, and I think, where you mentioned there, the very first thing you did with Wicked Uncle is you told it the ages of children and things that you wanted to be buying for and things. And so, we'll probably come on to that in a minute, or how we do that with Pact and quizzing people. And it's that 0 party data. So I think, yeah, the batch and blast where you're just being sent things from places that you can't even remember might actually be a bit of a hangover of the Klaviyo move, because a lot of people have been trying to re-engage profiles that they wrote off and haven't been sending emails to for a long time. It's a little bit like when GDPR happened, which Rose, and you're definitely too young to maybe have been affected by.
I remember it very well.
And so
I had no
what you
idea
did,
what it was. I was very young.
yeah. But there were lots and lots of emails that would say, look, we've got your data. We'd like to keep emailing you, but we need you to opt in, because we can't quite remember if you opted in before. And it's been less overt, like less obvious with that, but it's been a lot of brands trying to re-engage lost data, and so that's why you might have seen a bit of a overwhelm and influx of it recently. But yeah, try it's good, because I mean, the National Lottery, we have news about your ticket, is probably my most opened email. So there's nothing better than having that split second where you think this might be it, and it's £2.50 or a free lucky dip. But yeah, I think just those things that are personalized and have used even just a small amount of data that they know about me to send me something really relevant.
That's really interesting. And also, I don't do the lottery, and I now definitely know that I couldn't, because I would just be so disheartened by those emails. It would ruin my day. But no, some really interesting, and I want to dissect that a bit more about how it becomes more and more personal, and how we potentially see that changing as time goes on to become even more personalized. Katie, what about you? Is there a brand that stands out for you personally that does it well?
I think the thing is, I have brands that I love. So therefore, when they send me something, it could be clothing that I'm interested, because I like their stuff, that I'll open anyway. So I don't think anyone really sticks out. I think one of the things that from a brand perspective, we've recently done a lot of consumer calls. We've literally rung people that are shopping through our website, and we're like, what is really important to you? And I think out of the proportion that I spoke to, 5 of them all said, your e-shots are talking to me when you send me information, when you inform me about how good your product is for gut health, how good it is for protein, upping my protein, and we inform them rather than try and sell. And I think those nuggets of where you're adding value to the consumer's life, I think any brand can do that as long as they know the consumer. So I think that's, I suppose where I would say the brands that do well, it's where actually you're adding value, not trying to sell.
Excellent. I so agree. And for me, dad jokes are really adding value.
Yeah.
So yeah, 100%. Thank you, both of you, which segues us beautifully into the next question. So we've talked about our own personal examples of email marketing that really works for us, that is personalized. How can brands personalize their email marketing without overwhelming customers like poor Rose, who does a big deep breath before she opens her personal emails, because there's going to be 1,000,001 emails from companies she's never heard of. Katie, let's start with you. Let's mix things up, because I feel like Rich is going to give us absolute golden answers from the agency side, and I'd really like to also hear your own personal perspective of what's worked for you from a brand side.
Yeah, no. So I think there's 2 things. So there's obviously what we're recently doing, picking up the phone and speaking to your customers. So what information and what content do they want? And then we can segment based on that. But the more recent thing we've done in conjunction with the team at Get Better is introduced a quiz tool. And that quiz tool has allowed us to mine data from people that are engaging in the website. Perfect. With Octane AI, also does soft toys. And the team crafted a quiz with us, and that data is not just about product, it's about what these people are doing on a weekend, what diet are they following, what's most important to them. Just by one simple question using the quiz tool, we've been able to find out who's got family, who hasn't. So when we're sending out recipes that are based on kids, we can target that group rather than sending kids recipes to a single 45-year-old male. So it's kind of really understanding who's engaging with your website and what's important to them, and then creating a segment and targeting the content to them for that.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And yes, the segmentation is super interesting. And I feel like it's great you guys are starting to understand it, and like why would a 45-year-old male be interested in something that's going to really benefit him if he was, under 20? It's not going to have any impact on him. And like, I think more and more there's such a divide between the emails that are very clearly a lot of thought has gone into this, and this is really being targeted at this individual, and the ones where they're just like, we're just going to spread it and see what sticks. And over time, I think that's going to ultimately become those kind of companies will ultimately get caught out. Rich, what about you and your lovely cuddly toy? Tell us more. In your opinion, what brands can do to personalize their email marketing, again, without being super overwhelming for their poor customers?
Yeah, I think there's a big shift. So we've all sort of been sat here in the middle, and personalization is high first name, and it's maybe some dynamic products and things like that that have been sort of triggered from a previous purchase, but still quite flat and not really personalization. I think at the same time, the launch of AI has brought this whole like really sort of creepy sort of version of personalization. Like I got an email the other day that sort of said, great to see that Sophie is making moves and Get Better because she'd updated her job title on LinkedIn to be CRM manager. And it's basically just scrape, and I'd made a comment on it, and it just scrapes this data. Or can't believe you went to Wilnecote High School. Like I hear it's a really great school. I mean, it fucking isn't. Sorry. And so I think what now you can do to sort of separate yourself, I think there's also, the tells of AI, like, I constantly find myself pulling people up, because we will absolutely leverage ChatGPT and other things so that we can, speed up processes and things. But there's tells, every time I see in the ever-changing landscape of, or a double dash and things, I know, and I think we're all getting quite savvy to it. So brands have really got to up their game in terms of personalization. And I think the best type of personalization is the sort of personalization where you don't even know it's been personalized. You think it's a sign, and it's like the old thing when it's like, oh my God, my Alexa's listening to me, or the car's listening to me, because I was only having a chat about that in the car this morning with my mate Beryl, and now I'm getting emails about it. No, you were getting that email anyway. It's just been timed really, really well, because it's, you've been having the conversation and it's top of mind. You've just seen that email in a different light because you had the chat about it. So I think timing is everything. So often we go into flows and we see people that are just sort of setting their own times to send emails and stuff, when the user is giving you the best time to capture them, because wherever they had that first statement of intent is the best time the next day to try and sort of tag them again. I think using Octane AI is absolutely, it's a great tool for UX and for conversion. So, we've got some fantastic results very early on with an Octane AI quiz. It's only in its first few months, but it's the enrichment of the data it gives you, because every time someone answers a question, and we're already seeing, with relatively small segments, some really good results for just separating people that have said that they are preferable, that they want to use, they're looking for fruit versus looking for vegetables. And when you look at the data just on these specific audiences that people we can now segment that have been through the quiz, the numbers are ridiculous in terms of engagement, because we're giving them what they've told us they want. So yeah, I think the sort of the more that you have, the more that you can ask customers about, whether it's sort of qualitative in terms of zero party data and actually getting on the phones, or actually taking answers and feeding it in to enrich their profiles, the better. And kind of moving away from this creepy, ideas that you're trying to be too clever and trying to sort of find a hook. I think, yeah, that's going to have a very short shelf life.
Perfect. Thank you. So I think that one of the main messages coming away from this is definitely going to be personalized, not creepy, because the two things are very different. Next time I reach out to someone, I will not mention their school, because clearly that doesn't go down so well. Noted. We just had a question come in, actually, and rather than wait till questions at the end, because I appreciate with some people that they're logging on and then they have meetings immediately afterwards. We've got a question here. Any examples of AI in personalization? For me, that's quite broad. I don't know if you've got any examples of something, Rich or Katie, that might be useful for a response to that.
So there's one thing that we've been doing sort of over the last couple of months, and hopefully this answers the question. So we do use Chat GPT to create content, and then we will tailor it based on the Pact brand. So we will ask it for factual information. So when I've been doing these calls with our consumers, they've wanted more information on gut health, prebiotic versus probiotic, all of these sort of buzzwords that possibly just need a little bit more explanation for new people coming into nutrition. And I think where AI can help you is sort of sifting through and getting good information that talks to people in a very clear way. But then you need to go back through that AI and make sure it's on brand. It's not saying anything that you don't want your brand to be saying. But that speeds up and it's not creepy. But so it speeds up the process, and you're giving the information the consumer wants. And so using that in conjunction with Octane AI now, where they're saying, how they're spending their weekends, we can give them information on what they're interested in.
Fabulous. Thank you.
I think as well, like the AI in Octane is there are versions of their quizzes. So we've put out what we call a manual quiz, which is we've looked at all the answers and then we've given weight into the product, so that we've kind of decided what the best products to recommend are, because we've got time, resource, and nutritionalists and stuff within Pact that can do that. I think there's versions of the quizzes where you can generate them with AI, which will look at your sort of tags and things, and it will generate the answer. So it's a much quicker way to launch another quick quiz or launch a specific quiz about this. I think as well, AI is quite a loose term that people will sort of just attach onto anything. And the truest use of AI, I think, in personalization for me in an email perspective is where things like Rebuy and other tools like that will be learning about what people have viewed and what other people have viewed them with, and also sort of replenishment periods, and like using predictive analytics that AI has pulled together to go, right, well, if they bought that bag of cherries, the average person takes this amount of time to consume them and then purchase again. So it gives us a good guess at when the replenishment flow should be sent, and also what other products to recommend alongside it based on what other people have bought with cherries in the past, before we build up that really specific data set on that individual. That's probably best use of AI for me in terms of personalization on a CRM front.
Cool, thank you. And hopefully to Igor, hopefully that's useful. Feel free to any more questions that you want to put through. I can either put those through directly or send you Rich or Katie's details post with their consent, of course, with GDPR in mind. That segues us again really nicely to the next question, which was going to be about the automated email flows. Now, I'm going to be brutally honest, feeling very, very out of touch with technology. I didn't realize that my emails that I receive until I realized that my partner is also with the same he also has emails from the same retailer, and we get very different emails at very different times, and I just found that completely baffling. So looking at automated email flows, what are some of the key email flows you suggest that every e-commerce brand should have? Rich, I'm going to start with you because you look confused.
That's fine. I was just going to give Katie a spotlight and test how much she's been paying attention in our calls
and give you a spotlight.
So obviously the post-purchase is really important. So that flow of the experience after they've already purchased from us, making sure they're engaged with the brand after they've got the delivery, super important. And then I think after that, it would be for me potentially re-engaging people that have dropped off. So we've got sort of two models on Pact, where we've got a subscription model, which is people sign up and then obviously get regular deliveries, or you've got one-time purchase. And ensuring that those two flows speak in a different way is really important. And those subscribers are so important to Pact because they're sort of the core of our D2C business. And so ensuring that our flows and talking to them at every point during their subscription journey is super important. So I'd say they're the most important for me.
I'm so glad you've mentioned subscription, because I was on another webinar yesterday and we were talking about flows and subscription emails, and there's so many brands that are like, we don't want to email people if they're on a subscription, and like the rationale is, the fear is it'll remind people that they need to cancel. And it's just so flawed when you think of like the longer game. It's such a short-term strategy. It's the same as brands where you have to call them to cancel. Like, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. So I think, yeah, acknowledging that you've got an order that's coming up, giving people the opportunity to pause it if there's no room in the freezer, or add something on if they're feeling
that they've
fruity
run
when
out
you're
of.
normally picking vegetables. Exactly. And so, yeah, I'm really glad you mentioned subscriptions there as ones that I think every ecom subscription brand should have. I think the welcome series is important and will always be the top performing flow just by virtue of most people are offering an incentive when it comes to pop up, which I've just seen Adam pop up on the comments there saying, so daft, I hope he doesn't mean me specifically. I think it's more the take on brand's take on subscription
Definitely
emails.
means you specifically.
Yeah, well, he does if it's in terms of me recommending discounts, because we've argued this before. But yeah, a welcome series is obviously a must. But I think a welcome series that doesn't just stop at here's your discount, it genuinely nurtures people, and then the post purchase doing the same job, because Pact have impulse purchase items. You don't need to really research and really analyze like you would do with maybe a furniture brand or something like that. So there are instances where people will just fall through their funnel like a stone. They need something for a recipe, they find it on Google Shopping, they buy it. So using a post purchase then to backfill all of the stuff that the welcome flow would normally do about here's what other people say about us, here's the other products that we sell, here's some social proofing and things, and here's some recipes, we found really, really useful to sort of win those would only ever be a one-time purchaser, because they're making that one cake that one time and they want some frozen strawberries and things to go with it, into, oh, actually, I'm glad I found this brand because there's more that I might be able to purchase from them in the future. So yeah, I'd say based on what we see when we order and based on what we've seen in brands like Pact is a really good sympathetic post-purchase to where someone is at in their journey, if it's their first, second, third or fourth order, is a must.
Can I say something that's not good? Because I think this is where, when we started working with Rich, I think we got a bit email happy and we were like, oh, we need to be targeting them at this point, and they might have forgotten about us. And literally, I think a customer emailed us and was like, please, for the love of God, stop messaging me, because you have sent about 5 flows for the same thing. And that was just our inner experience of trying to do the right thing, but really overkilling it. And I think brands need to find that balance to ensure don't become the spam of like, I'm sick of seeing you. And I think that's really important as well.
Yeah, I think like win backs and stuff are really tricky in a brand like Pact because it's frozen goods. So if they were just selling bags of cherries, well, we know that those cherries will have gone past their shelf life in 2 weeks or whatever, however long cherries aren't frozen last. I don't know. I'm solely a frozen cherry eater. So it'd be quite easy. Whereas, frozen cherries could actually stay in the freezer for months. So I think, considering that someone might be lost at 90 days as a meat tool you can't do that with a brand like Pact. You've got to be really a lot more intuitive and things. And if they've been engaging with emails and they've been on site because they're looking for recipes, don't send them a win back because they're still engaged. They just don't need anything yet. They don't need a 20% off discount code to try and entice them back. They just need to finish the cherries that they've got. Just send them more recipes, more inspiration and more reasons to use them. There is more than cherries, by the way. I've been very cherry specific.
I've never fancied frozen cherries so much in my life, Katie. I will be in touch after this call.
We'll hook you up.
I'm so hungry. Awesome. There's loads of information there. It's really distracting because I didn't know that Adam or Aoife, and now my friend Annie Mae's just messaged me, they all seem to be on here, which is, I feel like I need to perform a bit more. So I might start singing maybe, especially for Adam. I want to impress him,
I may or may not have sent Aoife a WhatsApp showing her that I was co-hosting with the Octane AI Cuddly tool from the office.
So now she joins us. Typical Aoife behaviour. No, delighted to have you on here, Aoife. Please feel free to continue with questions and engagement. I'm loving it. It's great. It's popping up at the side. Cool. So some of the questions here that that previously were prepared, I feel like some of them have been answered. So I might just skip 1 or 2 of them. But one of the things, Katie, you talked right at the beginning about, which was a real problem for Pact, was the post-purchase experience. One of the queries that I was going to put to you was how you can use post-purchase experience to create brand loyalty. Were there any additional things you wanted to mention that perhaps weren't brought up at the start that has really worked for you at Pact?
Yeah, so I think where we've really found our sweet spot or is improving is ensuring that once we've got these people, our consumers, engaged on the site, is making sure that we give them reasons to come back and purchase. And one of the things that we introduced was a system called Yotpo. So this was a hat change, if possible. Thank you.
The
So
most ridiculous branding I've ever seen in my life. Carry it on.
So Yotpo it's basically a loyalty scheme. And one of the key things our founder, Alex, was really keen on was not making it super complicated. And like, obviously we want people to stay with us, but sometimes loyalty schemes can get so complicated that people don't really know how to use them. And so we didn't want that. So we introduced Yotpo and gave points for every time you purchase. So it increased loyalty by people knowing that they would gain points and they could convert that to cash off their next order. And what that's done for us is really push the average value up of the next order, because we give them a percentage off of their order, and once they've collected the points. We're starting to segment that even further about like, okay, so someone that places an order with us for 5 or 6 times, what extra points can we give them through Yotpo? And Yotpo allows you to do that. So what started off as a very basic reward scheme now allows us to, again, segment and personalize based on how loyal and how good a customer they are. I mean, some people have like placed 21 orders with us already, and it's like, these people need to be lauded. So yeah, it gives us that facility.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm just seeing if there's any other name drops that are going to happen where another hat or a cuddly toy. Please keep your t-shirt on, Rich. Just, we have to follow the rules here, but I'm just waiting.
You don't want me to get my quickfire chest tattoo out then?
Okay, rules aside, feel free to get your quickfire chest tattoo out. I thought halfway through you were just going to start like eating frozen cherries, just like made by Pact. That I feel like that was a missed opportunity, one for next time. Cool. I have another question for you guys, which is totally off script, but what's Caitlin going to do? She's going to fire me? She's not here. She's over there, and I'm a fast runner and I'm nearer the fire escape. One of the questions on that I was going to put to Katie was around like the common mistakes that basically cause customers to leave to click the dreaded unsubscribe button. I'm going to ask you both, in your experience of all your years doing what you do, what you think the number one biggest mistake is for email marketing that causes customers to click unsubscribe. I'm starting with you, Rich.
Poor timing.
Okay.
I think there's obvious ones that you send someone an email that they didn't want to receive, but an unsubscribe, someone's got to go to quite a lot of less effort nowadays with the one-click unsubscribe and things, but an unsubscribe is like you've got to be driven to unsubscribe. I actually prefer unsubscribers to deleters, or even worse, people that just let their inboxes get to 17,000 emails and stuff, and sort of treat it more like a social media feed where they're just scrolling through looking for the national lottery, which I do on an old, jar full of pennies at hotmail.co.uk. Is just a graveyard for entered competitions and things from the past, but it's also where my lottery's hooked up to. So, and I don't know how to change it. I think poor timing. And so that is either, I mentioned earlier about flows and what some people, we audit some accounts and they will say, right, abandon checkout. So the trigger is someone trying to shop and for some reason being distracted by one of their 13 children, or not having their card on them for the 3 digits on the back or the verification and things like that. You need a delay. You can't just immediately email someone because they might just be a little bit slower moving. So an hour or 2 hours works. Sometimes you'll see it's 4 hours. If I'm shopping at 9 o'clock tonight, that means you're firing me an email at 1 o'clock in the morning, which is no good. But then the next time delay is a day. So it's a day from the 1 o'clock in the morning, as opposed to sending it 20 hours or 22 hours if the first delay's been 2 hours, which matches it up. So I think poor timing, is the most common thing that we see. also not using smart sending or the tools to sort of make sure that if someone is in that abandoned checkout flow or in a welcome flow or in a post-purchase, don't send them the flash sale on frozen cherries campaign that's about to go out. Exclude them from that, so that you're not sort of messing with something, they're already on a path with you. Be sympathetic to where they're at, as opposed to trying to throw something else in their face that might knock them off course. So I'd say the one thing, if to pick one thing, and there's tons of them, but timing would be the one.
Trying to click on mute. Thank you. That's super helpful. Katie, one thing, it's not allowed to be timing. You can't have it.
No, that's okay. Can I have two?
Yes, of course you can. Absolutely.
Really easy one is poor content. And I think that, content that's not relevant, or, you've not listened to the feedback that you've had through Octane AI or through your consumer conversations, just making sure that your content's relevant and people are opening it and absorbing. But my main one is giving better discounts to new customers over your loyal customers, because I think just as a society now, we want to trust and we want to believe that that brand is giving us, as a good customer of theirs, the best experience. And I think ensuring that that comes across in your sort of top of funnel meta ads, the offers that you're giving to get people in to acquire, are matched with the same level of discounts and reasons for people to stay a loyal customer. And I think balancing that out in your comms and in your retention, I think is really important.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Guys, so I'm a little bit conscious of time, and I've just had a message from Caitlin saying, just a reminder, it was a 45-minute session. So I don't know if I'm going to have my job after this, because it seemed a little passive aggressive. So thank you, both of you, so much. I have a final question for both of you. Starting with you, Rich, because Katie's just given a brilliant answer. So, you've got to keep doing one up and one better. The biggest lesson brands today can take away from this when they're looking to improve their retention through email. We've talked about what doesn't work. We've talked about what's creepy, and we've talked about some of the things like subscription and reminders and that sort of thing that are a bit taboo. What would you say your biggest lesson that people can take away from this is?
I think it would be think personalization, and think about every different tiny piece of information that you can get from somebody, from all of these different amazing tech apps and things that you've got. Just make sure they're all integrated. So often we see that there's a reviews platform, but it's not integrated. There's loyalty, but it sends out its own emails versus the email platform that they're using, which is sending out different emails. So I think try and think central point of truth and get as much of the data that you're grabbing about people. So I'd be really intrigued to see where the telephone survey data has gone and whether we've had an upload into Klaviyo for that, because again, that's really, really good, valuable insights that we could sort of put a little note on to say has been telephone surveyed, because then in the future we can sort of reference the fact that they, it was great to speak to you on the phone, here's a reward and here's a thank you sort of thing. So yeah, just personalization as a forefront of your mind as you move through the next year.
Cool. Fantastic. Thank you. And Katie, I'm going to slightly moderate this. I feel really bad for you because I've just thrown questions that were not pre-prepared at all, and you handled it like an absolute champ. So thank you. I'm going to ask you instead what your best campaign has been. What worked best for you at Pact? It doesn't, you might afterwards think,
campaign.
I should have, email campaign. That you might think afterwards, that was a better example, but just one that comes to mind that was.
Really straightforward. So one that we did recently. So recipes always kill it. Like people want inspiration. They want how to use products, and there's no rocket science in that. One of the ones that we did more recently was literally a sort of an informative email on all the products that we did, the organic fruits and vegetables. And it was literally emoji, what it was, linked to the product, and the open rate and conversion on that was the highest. There was no offer. There was no, please buy me. It was just near on this is the suite that we do of products. Here's the information. And really, people sat and read it. And actually, I think it was just a way of simplifying, scrolling through a website, having to look into the ingredients. And it was just so basic. But yeah, I think people like simple.
I agree. And I think websites can be overwhelming, and actually emails can be used as a way to narrow down that information. So you're just sending the products that are interesting to them. That's got to be one of the perks of receiving so many emails, is at least they need to be personal and they need to be simple. That's a brilliant example. Thank you both so much for your time today. I mean, personally, I've learned loads, and I'm feeling a little more empathy for the people who are sending me emails every day. I'm going to go through and do some unsubscribing after this, because Rich, you're absolutely right. What use am I to the ones where I'm just deleting them or letting them pile up somewhere? I'm going to make a conscious effort, because I'm doing those brands no favors, because I'm ruining their click rate. So thank you, both of you, so much for your time today. And for people who are dialed in, or people who are watching this on repeat, anything relating to email marketing, or if you want to learn more about Klaviyo and want to speak to someone who is genuinely very good at their job and has so many different hats, would you look at that? Loads. A Klaviyo hat, just to make the point. Please do reach out to Rich. If you want his details, contact me. I have no qualms giving out his email address to anyone. And to anyone who wants to stop eating Haribo out the packet and instead wants to replace that with delicious frozen fruit, or wants to start bringing in smoothies into their life without the stress, please do reach out to Katie. She can help you. She's the one. And thank you, both of you, so much for your time today. It was lovely to see you, and have an amazing sunny weekend.
Thanks, Rose.
Cool. See you later, guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Are we off?